It appears the Bitcoin laws are getting their chance in this case, as Bitcoin finally puts in the rally that we've been looking for the first portion of February. And the real question is this the one? So other than that, I want to welcome you back to the Krown Crypto channel. We can just jump right into this one, starting off with the chart view right here. And first things first, the daily HPDR bands get this incredibly well. And just to kind of summarize the overall analysis, Bitcoin laws do have the ball in their court as long as Bitcoin is above the median band here, which is currently 43,550. Now, I do believe that this is essentially the rally that we have been looking for in the early portion of February, kind of in motion here, and it's probably not over as well. But still, the longer term view has been more or less unchanged as long as Bitcoin is especially below the top side of the blue 50% of historical returns range highs, which actually has kind of stepped up here a little bit towards 46,400. That would be on a closing basis, of course, but you can see that there is still certainly room for more upside in the more near term. Now, on the other side, the daily HPDR bands median right here, again, 43,550 or so. As long as Bitcoin's above it, ball's in the Bullish court. But if Bitcoin does lose it, especially close in a daily below there, that would be the confirmation that I believe is still probably the most likely thing to be happening. That would kind of confirm this as, well, a trap, and Bitcoin getting ready to come back down to 40,000 bucks, probably another bounce there, and then continuation lower. But for right now, as long as the ball's in the Bullish court, I do want to be respectful of that, and I do want to accurately represent all of the things that are, well, supportive of upside from right now, essentially. So first things first, we spoke about this on the daily HPDR bands. The next thing that does support continued upside would be over here on the daily Prime Oscillators Pro. As you can see, we went over this one yesterday, marking off all of the times when this indicator on CME has turned green on the daily, and we found that in the past year and a half, there's been 16 of those prior times, and out of 16, 11 of those did produce some pretty sizable upside movements, with an average move of about 15, almost 15.5% right there, as you can see. So from the time that this one did turn green, which was about 6 days ago now, Friday the 2nd, which was at a price point of about 42,600. If we were to play around that average, that would put Bitcoin actually basically around the current high on the Bitcoin ETF listing, which was about 49,000 bucks. So that would obviously, very well imply that Bitcoin's back above 46, and that would be good enough for me to essentially be full bull ahead, or at least for a move likely into about 54 to 55,000 bucks. We'll get into the reasoning for that at the end of this video, but as of right now, that would be supportive of current upside. Again, it doesn't need to be like all in today, obviously, but just generally over the next, I would say, 10 to 14 days. 10 to 14 days is the most like sort of time spread for this. What's interesting in the very, very short term is that Thursday is, traditionally speaking, the least likely to be bullish day at all Thursdays, closing positively in Bitcoin's history at about 37.5%. So, that is certainly on the lowest end. However, the return, like the negative return, is actually the lowest as well for Thursday, which is rather interesting at 1.83. On the positive side, for the ones that have, for the 37.5% that have closed positively, did return an average of 2.5%. 2.5% is what I'm trying to say, which would put Bitcoin at 45,500, which is a very, very interesting number, because that is essentially where I kind of consider the kill zone for Bitcoin right now, meaning that if Bitcoin is going to ultimately be bearish, we would be expecting rejections between about 45.5 to 46.5, again, on CME. Spot price action moved those numbers down by like 300 bucks, as there's actually more like 400 bucks right now. There's a nice little premium over spot price action, but this is the bull's chance. I mean, have to give it its due, respect for right now. And on top of that, we can all see that the 5-day time frame over here, after playing out this nice head and shoulders on the 5-day RSI, is, well, I mean, there is hidden bullish evidence here between the lows in early November, when Bitcoin was trading, I believe, in like the mid 30s, and the low that Bitcoin put in here at 40,000 bucks. So in the more near term, does Bitcoin have more room to rally? Yeah, again, I do think anywhere between 45.5 to even 46.5 is fair game, but that is where you would be expecting a big rejection if Bitcoin is going to ultimately turn bearish. And nothing, as far as my long-term views, have been changed here. I mean, as long as Bitcoin's below 46 especially, I mean, there's just no reason to. And again, we have been looking for this rally in early February, and it's happening right now. So, I mean, the problem is that as long as Bitcoin is below 46, at least for the Bullahs, that is, I mean, all of the prior bearish things that we spoke about are still very much relevant. Anyways, going on from there, we spoke about hidden bullish evidence there. What else? Is there anything on the weekly? I don't believe so. Maybe it was the daily that I was going to call out as well. Yeah, I think it was the daily right here. Daily, I'd hidden bullish evidence, but actually did not catch that one myself in the past few days recording. But even more important, we do set the daily jewel is a continuation signal right here as well, supported by DMI. So yeah, in the more near term, I still think within this next 10 to maybe 14-day spread, Bullish should have another try to the upside. The question is, does it actually take out any one of the critical regions that we spoke about, or does it come back down below 43.5? That would be not ideal for the Bullahs. That would be very much ideal for the Bears right there. Anyways, going on from there, and also very much relevant, not for today, but for tomorrow, is again the 5-day setup. The volatility versus stochastic momentum setup over here is starting to mature a lot more. We do see that 5-day volatility represented by BBWP is now at extreme lows, basically in the 1 percentile range for the last couple closures here. And I suspect that on the next one, we do see that one continue. Now, currently, the direction of the 5-day stochastic oscillator is positioned to the downside, which is 45,550 pivot as of right now. But that's on a closing basis, so do keep that in mind. So tomorrow for Friday, when Bitcoin closes, does this number move significantly down, to where current price action is, and we see this one cross the upside? At that point, you're going to start to see me turn a lot more in favor of a potential upside, because just again, anytime that we've seen low volatility, the direction of the stochastic oscillator has had a very high correlation to the next major move for Bitcoin, typically to the tune of like 35 to 40%. As I've gone over the full history for Bitcoin over here, these numbers relevant for both long and shorts, but of course we do have the long and shorts bifurcated on our stats sheet, but just I don't think it's necessary to bring up today. This will kind of do us for right now. But anyways, my point is that if we see this pivot start to go below price action, at that point you're going to start to see me say, hey, yeah, there are bearish things on the board, but the Bullahs are starting to actually build a bigger case as of this point, and it would be more likely that we do see an upside resolution. And at that point, to reference the title of this video, 40% on top of current price action would put Bitcoin 54,500 basically. This would be a good time for me to say that if you find this content valuable or in any way useful or meaningful or anything like that at all, please do consider subscribing. We also tell terrible jokes here as well, and also have generally terrible takes as far as political and sort of social issues go, which you're more than welcome to join on in, especially reading the comments from the past few days. It's very interesting to see some of the takes. Anyways, so yeah, again, as long as Bitcoin is below this, though, downside is going to be more likely. Just statistically speaking, that is what it is. Doesn't mean that Bitcoin can't rally up to this region. In fact, I think that's actually rather likely, perhaps in this next, maybe in the more near term, in this next week. But you would be expecting closures below there if downside is going to continue. Anyways, I think that actually brings us to the end of our video right here. Main message for today is that I do believe that this is the bounce that we've been looking for. I mean, quite obviously. The question is now, is this bounce an actual reversal, or is this an actual trap? And for right now, there's not really much to be said about it, because it hasn't cleared any one of the critical regions. This is kind of like the kill zone as far as I'm concerned, because a lot of people are going to get super bullish from this or super bearish from this just from $1,000 moves, and realistically it's not doing anything, is my point. Below 43,500, okay, we have a bit of a change of behavior right there. Downside in the more near term becomes more likely, probably looking at a move back down to like $40,000 but until then, short term probably fills out the space over here. If you're going to be bearish, you're looking for rejections over here. If you're going to be bullish, you want to see closures above here, I would say in no less than the next couple closing periods on those 5-day time frames. So yeah, this is it. Is it 55,000 or is it 30,000? Because again, these statistics can very much easily apply to the other side. And for right now, they do apply to the downside. 35% move puts you at just below 32,000 bucks. 40% moves puts you at 29,000 bucks. So again, this setup is still, it's maturing. It's not quite there just yet. That's why I do say, back half of February is where we likely see resolution on this one. And this is very, 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 very likely going to get the next major direction. So essentially we're looking at probably by beginning of like March, you're probably going to see Bitcoin either at like 55,000 bucks, or you're probably going to see it down around 30, low 30s, or at least minimum like mid 30s. So this is, kind of a big pivot as of right now, especially as Bitcoin's been more or less sideways for the past like month and a half. Not really doing anything of significant interest. So I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off. As always, want to wish you the best of best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.